The film opens in Bunal, Spain, during the famous La Tomatina festival, where crowds of people throw tomatoes in the streets in a wild celebration. Hidden within the chaos, a joint task force of MI6 agents and CIA officers is on a mission. The team is led by senior agent Noel Bissett, played by Priyanka Chopra. Her squad consists of Agent Thomas Coop Cooper, Charlotte Copley, Agent Jax, Oled Iller Thomas, and Agent Francis, Peter Guinea. Their objective: track down the elusive Russian arms dealer Viktor Gradov, played by Paddy Considine. Gradov makes his appearance but immediately begins deploying decoys to throw the agents off his trail. Realizing the urgency, Bissett requests a secure link to Echelon, a top-secret global surveillance program used by the Anglosphere's Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance. With Echelon's real-time monitoring of worldwide data, everything from phone calls and radio transmissions to emails and faxes, Bissett hopes to pinpoint the real Gradov before he escapes, but Gradov proves to be one step ahead. He successfully outsmarts the task force. In a brutal counterattack, his men slaughter Bissett's team, leaving no survivors. Worse, Gradov seizes control of the Echelon link, giving him access to one of the most powerful surveillance tools on Earth. Echelon is so sensitive that even allied agencies like the CIA and MI6 only use it in the direst emergencies, under strict oversight. Now, with Gradov holding the system, the balance of global intelligence has shifted into dangerous hands. Meanwhile, in London, the United Kingdom's Prime Minister, Sam Clarke, Idris Elba, prepares for a high-profile state visit. His guest, the newly elected President of the United States, Will Derringer, played by John Cena. Derringer is no ordinary politician, he's a former action movie star who's now stepped into the highest office in the world. By his side are his wife, Kat, Claire Foster, and their daughter, Sawyer, Robin Pennington. From the very beginning, it's clear that Prime Minister Sam Clarke and President Will Derringer are like oil and water. Their first official meeting quickly spirals into a public confrontation in front of the press. Will bluntly accuses Sam of endorsing his opponent during the U.S. election campaign, a slight he hasn't forgiven. He makes it clear that he doesn't respect Clarke, dismissing him as nothing more than a career politician, while painting himself as an outsider who doesn't play by the same rules. The tension escalates when reporters press them about the disastrous joint operation in Spain. Sam denies the very existence of Echelon, trying to defuse the subject, but Will takes the opposite approach. He loudly boasts that the US and the UK now have the technology to find and destroy anyone who dares to challenge them. His bravado alarms allies and enemies alike, as Will reveals far more than he should. In the middle of this, another revelation emerges, one that strikes directly at Will's image. It's revealed that he never actually served with the Special Forces. His only military training was when he briefly trained with soldiers while preparing for a role in a movie. By contrast, Sam actually lived it. He was a decorated veteran of the British Army, a man who had fought, bled, and earned his stripes for real. Their public spat becomes headline news, but behind closed doors, their aides scramble to contain the fallout. Clarke's Chief of Staff, Quincy, Richard Coyle, and Derringer's White House Chief of Staff, Bradshaw, Sarah Niles, hatch a plan. They suggest that the two leaders attend the upcoming NATO summit in Trieste together. Not just arriving side by side, but literally flying aboard Air Force One together to show the world a united front. Clarke and Derringer reluctantly agree, but once they're on the plane, the rivalry only intensifies. Even at 30,000 feet, they continue to needle and insult each other. Sam mocks Will's acting career, refusing to even acknowledge him as a real actor. Will fires back, calling Sam a snob who thinks he's better than everyone else in the room. Sam pushes further, proudly recounting his own hard-fought journey, growing up in a housing project, working 3 jobs to put himself through Cambridge, serving in the army, moving on to community organizing, then defense attaché, and eventually rising through Parliament to become Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Then he turns his words like a blade against Will. He tells him that the only reason he's president is because some Hollywood agent once liked his jawline. That unlike him, Will has never spent a single day in public service. During the tense flight aboard Air Force One, the unthinkable happens. The presidential aircraft is suddenly compromised from within. A terrorist insider, disguised as a chef, quietly infiltrates the command module. He executes the agents on board and activates the aircraft's location beacon, unknowingly marking Air Force One for destruction. Moments later, a hostile military aircraft intercepts the plane. Without hesitation, it launches missiles directly at the presidential jet. The sky erupts with fire as Air Force One is struck and brought down in flames, sending shockwaves across the world. Amidst the chaos, both Prime Minister Sam Clark and President Will Derringer barely escape with their lives. They grab parachutes and leap into the night sky, landing deep in Belarus. The crash leaves them stranded behind enemy lines, with no official support. To the outside world, the two leaders are now presumed dead. On the ground, Sam immediately shifts into survival mode. He recalls the instructions from the CIA operative aboard the plane. Their objective is to make it across the border into Poland. He insists on staying silent, contacting no one, and avoiding any traceable signals. Will, however, sees things differently. His first instinct is to call his wife Kat and reassure her, and the rest of the world, that they are still alive. But Sam shuts him down. He warns that whoever orchestrated the attack is almost certainly monitoring communications. To prove his point, Sam takes Will's phone and hurls it into the river, cutting off their only link to the outside world. Meanwhile, in Washington, Vice President Kirk steps into power following the presumed death of the president. She is granted operational control over the Echelon program. But while the system is in the middle of a reboot, Gradov and his hacker partner, Hammond, seize their opportunity. With the stolen link, they override security protocols and take full control of Echelon. The most powerful surveillance weapon in the world is now in the hands of the enemy. Back in Belarus, Clark and Derringer realize the danger they are in. Someone in their closest circles has betrayed them, feeding Gradov the intelligence needed to bring down Air Force One. With no allies they can fully trust, the two men are forced to improvise. They manage to secure a ride with a friendly Belarusian woman, who discreetly smuggles them across the border into Poland. There, they find refuge in Warsaw under the protection of CIA officer Marty Comer, played by Jack Quaid. For the moment, it seems they are safe. But Gradov's control of Echelon changes everything. By monitoring security footage across the city, he quickly pinpoints their location. The Russian arms dealer now knows exactly where the two most powerful men in the West are hiding, and he won't stop until they're both dead. Inside the Warsaw safe house, Marty Comer briefs Sam and Will on the devastating fallout. The terrorists have begun releasing classified NATO documents online, exposing decades of covert surveillance and manipulation. These leaks reveal how NATO nations have spied on each other, interfered with domestic affairs, and even influenced democratic elections. The revelations shake the very foundation of the alliance, throwing NATO into a storm of distrust and uncertainty. Will insists that they must go to the U.S. Embassy and declare their presence. Sam pushes back, warning that with the leaks and betrayals already in play, they must assume that every high-level command post is compromised. Their survival depends on remaining invisible. Before the argument can continue, the safe house comes under fire. Gradov's assassins, Sasha, Alexander Kuznetsov, and Olga, Katrina Durden, lead a brutal assault. Gunfire tears through the walls, and in the chaos, Comer is shot in the head, killed instantly. Sam and Will are forced to flee once again, barely escaping the ambush. Their survival is only possible thanks to the arrival of Bissett, who had managed to survive Gradov's earlier attack in Spain. She pulls the two leaders out of the firefight and leads them to safety. On the move, Bissett delivers more shocking revelations. She explains that the NATO summit has collapsed into chaos after Gradov's hacker, Hammond, Stephen Root, successfully infiltrated Echelon and leaked national security files to the public. Governments no longer trust one another, and the alliance is fracturing under the weight of exposed secrets. In the middle of their escape, personal history resurfaces. Derringer learns that Clark and Bissett once shared a romantic relationship before Clark pursued his political career. The revelation adds another layer of tension to their already strained partnership, but Bissett's most important revelation concerns Gradov's true motives. She explains that Gradov's son was a scientist, a brilliant mind who had developed a revolutionary design for a nuclear reactor, one incapable of meltdown. To test the invention, he required plutonium, which Gradov secretly purchased on the black market. the United States and United Kingdom interpreted the purchase as an attempt to build a nuclear weapon. Acting on this intelligence, NATO launched a strike on Gradov, an operation that killed his son. Only later did the truth emerge: the reactor was not a weapon, but a groundbreaking advancement in clean energy. Worse, the schematics were stolen through echelon and claimed as an American invention, erasing the son's work and deepening Gradov's hatred. Now bound by this shared knowledge, Clark, Derringer, and Bissett moved toward their next objective, the NATO summit in Italy. They travel by train, hoping to make it to Trieste and confront the leaders before Gradov can do more damage, but Gradov's assassins are relentless. On the journey, the train is attacked by yet another killer sent to eliminate them, forcing the trio into another fight for survival. On board the train, chaos erupts once more. But this time, an unexpected turn changes everything. Hammond, weary of living under Gradov's control, finally rebels. In a desperate act, he turns on the assassin, killing him in the fight, but Hammond himself is mortally wounded in the process. With his final breaths, Hammond delivers a crucial warning. He tells Bissett that Gradov has already arranged for a hit team at the next station, ready to assassinate the two heads of state. Hammond urges them to travel to his former office in Zadar, Croatia, where they will uncover the truth about the betrayal that set all of this in motion. The trio follows his instructions. In Zadar, they search through Hammond's files and recover old chat logs, and what they find shocks them: the betrayal points directly at Derringer's aide, Bradshaw. But before they can fully process this discovery, Gradov himself arrives with his assassins. A brutal attack follows. Explosions rip through the scene, and in the chaos, Sam Clark appears to be killed. Gradov escalates his assault. Using a helicopter, he latches onto the shipping container holding Hammond's old office, with Bissett and Derringer trapped inside. Moments later, Gradov releases it, sending the container hurtling toward destruction. But unknown to him, Bissett and Derringer leap out just in time, surviving the deadly fall. Meanwhile, Gradov's own world begins to unravel. His assassins turn on him, declaring their mission complete and viewing him as nothing more than a loose end. But Gradov refuses to die. He fights back ferociously, killing the assassins and escaping once again. From there, Bissett and Derringer press on to Trieste, where the NATO summit hangs in the balance. It is here they uncover the true architect of the betrayal, Vice President Elizabeth Kirk. She had cleverly framed Bradshaw to throw everyone off the trail. Now exposed, Kirk tries to tighten her hold on power. Derringer calls for Kirk to send a car, but when it arrives, it's a trap. An assassin waits inside, setting off another deadly chase through the streets of Trieste. Olga and Sasha, loyal to Kirk and Gradov, pursue Derringer and Bissett with relentless force. Just as their survival seems impossible, salvation arrives in spectacular fashion. Sam Clark, alive after all, drives onto the scene in a fire truck he commandeered to reach Italy. He joins the fight, and together, the trio makes their final stand. The battle turns bloody. Olga is killed when her grenade launcher misfires, detonating in her hands. The group pushes through to the summit in time, preventing Kirk from dissolving NATO entirely. In the chaos, Derringer finally confronts Kirk face to face. But before justice can be served, Gradov appears and shoots her, eliminating the vice president he once conspired with. The final showdown begins. Gradov unleashes his assassins on the summit. Bissett faces Sasha in a brutal duel, ultimately killing him. Meanwhile, Clark and Derringer pursue Gradov himself. The chase culminates in a dramatic finish when Derringer hurls a statue at Gradov's helicopter, sending it spiraling into a fiery crash that ends the arms dealer once and for all. 2 months later, the dust settles. NATO begins to heal, its fractured trust restored. Against all odds, Clark and Derringer emerge as close friends, their rivalry transformed into respect. In a lighter epilogue, it is revealed that Comer survived the Warsaw attack, saved by a metal plate in his skull. Found at a bar trying to pick up women, he is approached once more by Bissett, leaving the door open for new beginnings.